Hey everybody, welcome back to Dope Like Comics. We are doing kind of a retro review with the Marvel Knights Garth Ennis The Punisher Omnibus. Take a look at the slide with been getting into reading some Punisher. Wanted to get into like the Max series, and obviously you got Punisher sort of coming back for season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. So just decided to get into this run. This is a older omnibus that desperately needs a reprint, but want to take a look at the story and kind of give us an overview. This book is this is the Marvel Knights continuity, which is not quite as intense as like a Max line, but it was meant to be a little more of a mature line back in the early 2000s. This run came before Punisher Max, and kind of it doesn't lead into it because Max is its own thing, but this is Garth Ennis's work on the Punisher prior to that. And I'm just gonna and Steve Dillon, who does a lot of work with Garth Ennis. They did all of the Preacher. I think they were coming right off of the Preacher run with DC when they came over to do the Punisher run. He does most of the artwork in here, and I'm not the biggest fan, but the artwork really fits the story, the tone. And when he leaves at the last several issues of the book, you miss the artwork. So we'll kind of go over this. Light spoilers ahead. But it opens up with so what's collected in here. Let's kind of look at that. So we have the Punisher 2000 1 through 12. This is the Welcome Back Frank storyline, and this is really sort of the price of admission. This is by far the best content in the book, and like even if you have just a minor interest in the character, that's the storyline that you really want to, sort of focus on. We have Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, Marvel Knights Double Shot 1, the Punisher 2001. So after the 2000, it was the 2001. It goes 1 to 7, and then it skips to 13 through 37, the Garth Ennis issues. So basically, the big thing here is, and parental advisory, just assume anything anytime you're dealing with the Punisher, expecting like really mature themes and a lot of violence, especially with Punisher and with Garth Ennis. Hopefully we won't land on any too gory pages here, but it's pretty intense. But the Welcome Back Frank is basically just Punisher is back in business, and this is an awesome storyline, and I really feel like so we get some new characters. Frank is back. He's sort of going undercover, living in an apartment. So we sort of meet the characters who are in his apartment building, who are just sort of fun supporting characters throughout the 12 issues, and they sprinkle in a little bit throughout the rest of the book, but basically all Punisher stories are basically mafia comes in, insert mafia head leader. Frank tracks down the information on them and then tracks them down to put an end to them. But this has just like it has like I don't always align with Garth Ennis's humor. Like his humor always doesn't catch me, but this is like pretty funny where it needs to be without ever becoming a joke. But it does a nice job balancing the more intense moments with the levity. Basically, so as Frank is sort of one of the big subplots here is that Frank or the Punisher is known for he kills criminals, and he believes in sort of like bringing criminals to justice, and lethally so. But throughout this, we are introduced to 3 copycats who are sort of taking the law into their own hands, killing people. So we have a priest who, gets these, confessions from these crimes and decides to kill the individual. And ultimately, these group of individuals do try to come together and form a group and they want to partner with Frank on his quest of sort of purging evil or killing evil. And so we get to see Frank's sort of response to the mirror of when he's faced with individuals who are trying to take on what he does. Throughout the book, we do meet a few. So this is still a world where he's in the actual Marvel universe. So we're going to meet primarily through these pages Daredevil, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and to be honest, the Daredevil stuff is fine here, but if you're a Spider-Man fan or Wolverine fan, don't take anything in this book too seriously because he doesn't treat those characters. Ennis doesn't treat those characters too nicely or put them in too much of a favorable light. So you do need to sort of not suspend belief, but just kind of like consider it tongue-in-cheek because Punisher is getting some wins over some characters he probably shouldn't. But we get this story, so I don't want to get into spoilers, but Mafia's doing bad things. This guy is weird. He's sort of fascist like to where he just doesn't want anyone in his neighborhood doing anything like selling hot dogs, selling, like drugs or bad things, but even like anyone bringing down the value of the neighborhood. And so he's one of the copycats that Franks has to deal with. In those 12 issues, and we meet like the cop. These are the cops who become big supporting characters, especially this character becomes a big supporting character throughout this. Some good fights. These first 12 issues are fantastic. And I think overall, Ennis is best when he has a specific story to tell. Because as we get into, I'm not sure if this is the start of so this is in the 2001. So after the 12 issues, which is excellent, we get into the running, ongoing, and it's good. It is really good, especially if you like the character. I think because it's in an omnibus format and you're reading it all at once, I started to feel like the repetition in the stories because it really is insert some no-name mafia boss. It doesn't matter what their name is. Insert the boss. Frank figures out where they are. He goes to the meeting and kills everyone. And it's like cool and awesome and it's, fun, but there really is no depth beyond that, outside of that. And it's just every issue. So I started to feel like not burnt out, but it was like, okay, I get it. Like we're kind of falling into the same patterns. While the first 12 issues had a very clear beginning, middle, end. We're building to a crescendo of a story. These characters are important. We need to understand how the characters, journeys from one to the next. Not to say that there aren't any good stories. Again, this is really good stuff. I did find that when it's an ongoing without a specific plot they're trying to drive towards, got a little redundant. But artwork is great throughout. Stories are great. One of the highlights in here is, I don't know if this is here, but one of the highlights in this story is this story. It's like a 2 or 3 parter where he's following police officers, because Punisher has a credence where he does not go after police officers. Corrupt police officer, in this story. I haven't read a lot of Punisher. I'm assuming that's his character. But he will go after criminals. But even when he stumbles upon these cops who are dirty or aligning themselves with like mafia bosses, he just has a thing where he won't go after them. So he's following them and trying to intervene without, actually going lethal against these officers. And this is actually one of the highlights, other than the first Welcome Back Frank. This little 2 or 3 issue arc is a massive update. So not too much else in here. It's just great Punisher action. throughout. We do get the end. Again, not very kind to Spider-Man or Wolverine through this, but we do get, and there's a big storyline where Daredevil, Wolverine, and Spider-Man all team up to take Frank down and stop him. Just go with it. There's this teeth issue, which is disgusting. But then we get Frank Kills the Marvel Universe, which is basically, it's kind of like a big what if story, or it's like a what if story. It's like, what happens if Frank's family was in a park when the Avengers and X-Men were fighting an alien invasion, and instead of dying against a mafia hit, they died as a casualty to this event. So Frank is like, and he goes on war against superheroes, and goes through and systematically starts to hunt down all the different superheroes. Again, just take it as a tongue-in-cheek, because he kills the Hulk by turning him back into Bruce Banner. If you know even anything about the Hulk, that would never work. But just smile and nod. Through the back here, we don't have a ton. We get some scriptings for extras. Like with some of the plotting through. And I mean, it's good. It's good stuff. It's good stories. It's worth it. That front story and maybe a couple of stories throughout are big highlights. It's really good stuff, but it just kind of gets into a little bit of repetition. This is the Eye. This is one of the older Omnis. I think this is from like 2008, but I had no issues with laying over the build of the book. This is kind of, it's kind of loose, but it's a book from 2008. Perfect reading condition. So hopefully we eventually get some kind of a reprint of this, because it's long out of print, and I think the prices are kind of bad on the secondary market. But this kind of, I read this more of a primer to Ennis era Punisher before going into Max. And I thought this was really good stuff. So I've never read much Punisher, but this was very enjoyable. Quick read. It's not heavy. It's not intense. And the action stays up throughout. So thank you. Comment, like, and subscribe.